Welcome to the Healer's Corner podcast with your hosts, Melissa Wiles and Maria Cerna.
We have Dana with us to go even deeper into the Akashic Records. And I know, Maria, you had mentioned before, you're like, hey, can Dana rephrase this or reframe it for somebody who might still be a little confused, maybe, if they've never heard of it before? How would you rephrase that or reframe, not rephrase?
I actually did it today. I had an older woman who was in town, and her friend said, "What do you want to do when you're in town?" And she said, "I'd love to get a reading." And so her friend called me up and said, "Hey, do you have time for a reading?" Well, my friend's in town, so I went to her Airbnb today, and I gave her an Akashic Records reading, and she didn't understand what it was. So I told her, let's call it a soul reading. It's a soul reading. I'm going to read your soul. And because your soul knows everything about you. And I think that's a lot easier for some people to understand than, wait a minute. So there's this energy library hanging out, floating around somewhere that you can go and check out a book. For a lot of people, it's like, let's call it a soul reading. And then we could skip all the questions and just get right to it and get you help. So I frame it that way, and it seems to be easy. It's even easier sometimes for people to understand that than I'm talking to your dead brother right now. When I do like a mediumship reading. So it's like, no, I'm reading your soul, and we can even say like, maybe it's your soul answering these questions for me while your humanness and your ego identity is sitting there.
I can see that being a little easier, maybe a little overwhelming. Like, oh my God, my whole soul, like even my deepest, darkest secrets and skeletons in the closet. Like,
If they want to know, well, it's neat because the records only give you the information that they think is most helpful for you at the time. So, and it is just a lot based on the questions we ask. But if somebody asks, what do I need to heal in my marriage right now? Going to be like, oh, well, you need communication. It's not going to go into the deepest, darkest secrets of like, well, in 1979, he did cheat on you. But it's more of like what is happening now. Although if somebody did ask that, did my husband cheat on me back in 1979? I'm sure the records would show that. Yes, but that's the past, and you were right, and now we're doing this. But yeah, they don't offer like information that wasn't pertinent to the question.
well, that kind of is like a really good segue into, talking about Akashic blockages or karmic patterns. Like, does it really help you get around that pattern rather than just treating the surface symptoms of, what the client might be going through?
Yeah, it does, because when they know what's holding them back or what the blockage is or what the pattern is that they're stuck in the loop, sometimes just knowing what that is brings healing, because we're often hidden from ourselves. We don't often know some things that other people could point out, and then we're defensive if they show us that. But then when it comes through very lovingly, because the records are never mean, they're never like, bitch, you know what you need to do. They're very loving, and they're very compassionate, and they're very patient. And the way that they frame things, at least as it comes through me when I'm translating them, is um, there's a lot of mercy and gentleness. And just even thinking about the woman that I read today, where her pattern is she's an overgiver and she doesn't know how to receive, and she's always people pleasing and stuffing down what she needs to say to people, and it's making her sick of not speaking up. Because when she asked, she says, what is it that I need to heal in my marriage? The very first thing that came through from the records was, speak up for yourself. Now, I never met this woman before, so I don't know. And she goes, I journal all the time and I tell myself to shut up. And I was like, what are you doing? So we had to bring in her inner child and have them reconnect. And like you're imagine that you're telling this little girl, that's you at a certain age, to shut up. Like, how does that feel? And so she saw that was a pattern all her life, that she was told to shut up or was made to be silent, and that her opinions didn't matter, and that her needs didn't matter, and that expressing herself, that she wasn't worthy of expressing herself. And hopefully it ends now, because she was, by the time that we were done, like, that makes a lot of sense. And she wouldn't have guessed that that's what would bring peace into her life, would be just to speak up for herself. And I said, now there's a way that you can speak up for yourself and not be mean and nasty about it. You can still speak up for yourself in an assertive way and and say what you need to say in a kind way,
Mhm.
and in, the most gentle way possible, but an honest way. Like, look, I, I'm in this marriage too. It's not just you, or whatever, however she wants to say it. But it was a suggestion from the Akashic Records. Why don't you write it out first? And you know what else the record said? They give these cute things. They said, why don't you imagine before you say the things that your mouth is on your heart, and that his ears are on his heart. And then that's how it's going to be communicating. Because I was seeing in the records that they're going at each other with their heads, and it's not from here. And so that was creating a lot of tension. And I was also seeing that once she does this, that she'll be very surprised at how he reacts or responds, and that it would release a great weight off of her. And so sometimes the records will say, here's the healing that's available. Do you want it? And then we do a healing and a clearing right there. And then other times it's like, no, you do this yourself. I'll tell you what to do or what is suggested or recommended. And now it's up to you to do it because there was some throat chakra stuff going on there for her. But yeah, the karmic patterns and all of that stuff there, that's a great question to ask when you're in the Akashic Records. What are some of my patterns that are holding me back? What are the old stories? What is the looping, or the when I see karmic patterns a lot of times in the records, because we do translate a lot of, this with other readers and healers out there, we translate pictures and images. They show karmic patterns like a pair of tennis shoes in a dryer, just bumping around, going over and over and over again until somebody's like, get these shoes out of the dryer. Turn the dryer off, because it's just tumbling around in there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, like, what about like present life and future aspects? Like,
Mhm.
we talked a lot of past life,
Yeah.
like knowledge and like how that, can help presently. But like, what are some present things that the records can help clear up and
Thank
get
you.
out of the dryer?
Yes, that is such a great question. Present moment is key for the Akashic Records, and even when they're talking about the past lives, it's so that the person can heal now. Because sometimes somebody will ask a question about, what is happening right now in their life, and says, well, we have to go backwards in order to help you now. Here's what you need to understand about this past life that can help you get more perspective on where you're at now. But some great questions for the present moment. Focus. A lot of people ask that. What do I need to focus on right now to go in the direction of my business? What should I focus on? What do my children need from me at this time as their mother in the highest good? Because parents get so worried or nervous about their kids, right? There's so much anxiety around that. Am I raising them right? Am I too much? Am I not enough? Should I? And sometimes I even come across people that are it's almost like they have an obsession with their kids. I guess I can't speak for that because I don't have kids of my own, but I am obsessed with my cat, who's right outside my door trying to get in on this, but he'll be too cute and too distracting. But people ask for present moment information like, what could I do to feel more financially stable? Or what can I focus on for my health right now? So those are some great present moment questions to ask. And what am I healing right now? What does my soul need the most to help me thrive at this time? And then the future, the way that we can get information from the Akashic Records for the future is because, and we may have talked about this last time, um, if it resonates with you, it certainly does with me, and it has ever since I can remember. I always knew about reincarnation, is that we do plan or agree to a certain aspect of our lives before we get here. So our soul already does have a plan. Now, a lot of it is free will, but there's mile markers. It's like if you have a map and you're charting a course across the country in your RV and you want to stop at certain places, but how you get to those places or when you go there, that's free will. But there's certain places you're meant to stop. And in our lives, that could look like, this is who I'm going to marry, or this is who I'm going to divorce. This is these are the kids I'm going to have. This is the geographic location. This is the business I'm going to run. This is the health issue that I'm going to deal with. Sometimes too. But there are our highest potentials are in our Akashic records. And I've even worked with people who are writing music or books, and we go into their Akashic records because they're stuck. I'm like, this is already written. It's in your records. you're just downloading it. You are just open up and receive it. It's in there. You're not like, it takes the pressure off of them when they realize, oh, it's not writer's block. I mean, it's a different kind of writer's block. It's like, why don't you just relax and meditate and work with your records and let yourself pull the information down. You've already put the information in there before this incarnation. So that's in certain cases, not always. Some people are channeling in the moment. But when we go into the records and we ask about the future, the records are always going to show the highest potential. So if somebody says, what do I need to what do I need to do to welcome in the romantic relationship that is coming my way? And like we word it that way, like affirming that it is coming in. And the records will say something like, well, you've the best case scenario is that you put yourself out there. Like, and because some people just think like they're going to sit around the house and it's the HVAC guy that's coming over that's going to be their soulmate, or the snowplow guy, right, or the guy that's coming to fix the fence. You have to put yourself out there. And then I'll start seeing scenarios, and the records always show us the best case scenario for somebody or the highest potential, because they want us to aspire to that level. There may be 5 potential outcomes of something that somebody's asking about, but the records are going to offer the highest and the best, because they want us to raise our vibration to get up to that point. Even if they choose, number 2, 3, or 4, or 5, they're going for number 1 is gonna help them, right? Does that make sense? Because it's like the records aren't gonna just give like, well, you could do this. They want to give us the biggest, best, most beautiful thing. And just because it raises our vibration to go after that or to feel that. And then that is what brings in, our vibration is like a magnet. And that is what brings in the manifestation or the outcome that we're seeking, or the healing that we need.
Now, will the records kind of get a little tougher and be like, look, you need to deal with your daddy issues first?
Sometimes, and I don't know if it'll be worded exactly like that, but even just thinking back on the reading that I did today with the woman, kept coming through of like, I kept seeing her just shoving all of her words down, and then it's just like, it's almost like a pressure cooker. It was just building and building and building, and she shuts down and she walks away, and it's the silent treatment and separate rooms, and but the records were also saying this is a marriage of comfort and convenience, and if you want there to be anything more than that, you have to communicate. And she's not communicating because she's afraid of what the result will be. And so the records are kind of, it's not as tough love as like that would come through more in like the other psychic readings that I do with my mediumship abilities. The Akashic records are different. They're just so compassionate. And they even would say like, well, it's not your fault. You were taught this. You learned this from your mom and dad, I mean, it would say things like that. And so, yeah, daddy issues gets coming up like, can you think back? And sometimes they want the person to answer, because that's when they're going to get the greatest epiphany. Like, hey, do you ever remember that happening, that happen with anybody when you were growing up? Oh, yeah, my mom and dad. Exactly. Like I knew what the answer was based on the records, but in order for them to come to it on their own, that's when they have the big breakthrough as well. They're like, oh, I did see my dad treat my mom that way. And I saw my mom respond that way. And it was like that. And then they're working it out in their own mind. And then you could see a shift happening. And that's when the magic is there.
The light bulb goes off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've all had those moments too, like, aha, I am my own fault. No, that's what the records say. It's like, it's not all your fault. You learned this. You had teachers. The people that raised you are your first teachers. And then you look at them, and unless we do the work and figure out differently, then we inherit things generationally just based on that. And sometimes that's where our karmic patterns and habits form.
So when a client has the information, how can it's some people is since it was a conditioned pattern, it's hard to break it.
Yeah.
And it's like taking baby steps. So how can they keep the focal on that once they're done the session with you, got the information?
Sometimes
I mean, what will be?
Sometimes I never hear back. Oftentimes I do, though. I love hearing back from somebody and finding out like what what occurred or how it all played out. But they were given the assignment. It's up to her to figure it out and do it now. And I let people record the readings that they do with me just because I know that it's helpful to listen back. And I can't think of anybody that has ever come back to me and said, it didn't work or they didn't, nobody's ever done that. There's no proof that out there that anybody's, ever come back to me and said that or wish they didn't do it or that it was wrong. That's never happened. So that's a good thing. But I love when somebody does come back. There was a gal that I read at Goddess Elite, and it was in April of 2024. And she came in crying. I had never met her before. And she came in crying and she was referred to me. And I was, what can I do? What can I help you with? And she said, they found a mass on my heart and they said they need to do open heart surgery. She was like in her 30s and I couldn't believe it. And I said, let's see what's going on. Let's go into your Akashic Records. And I was seeing in her Akashic Records this it's kind of like a bird of prey perched on her shoulders, just digging talons in. And I was like, is there something going on with your left shoulder too? She was like, oh my God, there's so much pain constantly in my left shoulder, just throbbing down. And it does go down into my heart. And I was like, there's some sort of predatory person in your life that is just sucking you dry. And I'm just seeing this negative attachment. And I says, it feels like it might be at work. Do you know who this is? And she was just crying. She said, yeah, it's my boss. It's my boss. And so she told me a little bit about her job. And I said, you have to leave. You have to leave your job. You have to leave it. You have to leave. And I said, quit your job and go get your follow-up at the doctor. It's always such a risk saying these things, but they're not coming from me. It's coming from the records. And my job is a messenger. I have to deliver the message. So I felt very confident saying this. I know that we're taught do not diagnose when we're doing readings. And so really careful to not do that. But I said, you're going to go to the doctor. There will be no mass on your heart. You will not have to get open heart surgery. Never heard from her. 6 months go by and I got to go on to the next reading. I got to go on to my next thing. I got to let it go. It's really wonderful in my astrology that I have this ability to detach. I'm not an empath. I'm the opposite of an empath. I kind of take people's trash and throw it away for them instead of sponge it. And I have this ability to go deep with them, but also then detach as soon as we're done. And 6 months later, she came back to me and I saw her name that she booked with me again at Goddess Elite. And I was like, that name is familiar, but I don't remember who she is until I saw her. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, okay, this is a good sign. She's booked another appointment with me. Well, she just shared with me. She said, Dana, I immediately quit my job. She said the pain went away right away. And she goes, not only that, my husband's health issues went away. He was so worried about me. He was having health issues. She said, I went to my follow-up appointment at my doctor, no mass on my heart, no heart surgery needed, no open heart surgery needed. And she said she got a new job that she loved. And the moment that she was on the interview, the guy interviewing her said, I without even doing the interview, I know I'm supposed to hire you. And she said he was very spiritual and he said he recognized her. And so she was thriving in her new job. And it was just a wonderful session with the whole, and I almost was in tears because I was like, her reading impacted me so much. And I was like, sometimes I'm leaving one of those readings and like, what the heck did I tell that woman? And I'm sure, Maria, you've experienced that too in a reading. Like, I just told that person to leave their husband, or I told that person to quit their job, or I told that person they wouldn't need open heart surgery. And you're like, but this is what we do. This is why we're here. This is our job. And even though it seems so ridiculous, I have, my guides and my angels reminding me, Dana, the people were sent to you because you can help them. That's why we sent them to you. Spirit sends me the people I can help. And I have to remember that every time before I do a reading, it's because I can help. Because we get, we have doubts.
Mm-hmm.
But that knowing always reminds me to be confident. So she did the work. That's an example of somebody who did do the work. She was given a suggestion or a recommendation and she took it. And boy, did it help transform her life. And then her husband booked a session with me and they've referred people. I mean, it's just so amazing to see that happen. But I've also talked to people who they were given, a recommendation or a suggestion from the Akashic Records. They weren't ready to do it at the time, but they did it, let's say, a year or 2 years down the line. And then they had that breakthrough. So you have to be ready at your own pace. But it's just so often that the Akashic Records reading, they kind of know, the Akashic Records know that the person is ready
Mhm.
for it. But then you have those that are a little bit resistant. Like there's a gal who's looking for a business space, and it keeps coming through the Akashic Records. This is in Geauga County. Your new business is in your new office space is in Geauga County. She's looking all over Avon and Berea and Westlake, and a dozen readings. It's in Geauga County. You're still looking in Avon, are you? You're still looking in Westlake, huh? You're still so one day she's going to start searching in Geauga County. Let's see what
When
happens.
when she runs out of all
I know,
possible
I'm like, it's
every surrounding
Chesterland, it's
county.
Chardon, it's like somewhere around Kirtland or Chesterland or Burton or somewhere out there. I kept seeing it, and yeah, but it's like we have our own stubborn ways, but
Mm-hmm.
but then also maybe we're choosing our own path too, and maybe that was the highest potential for her, the best rent or the greatest whatever. If she finds a space out on this side, I'm happy for her, but maybe it's more money, or it's the lead, or like the landlord's not as cool, or I don't know, but I'm just a messenger. I'm a librarian. Here's your book, read it if you want to.
Boom. There you
Yeah,
go. Get to
yeah.
read. We have a question from a friend here in the audience. Says, what should you do when you get to the records and the books are there, but you wake up or can't seem to read them? Should a spirit guide read to you, or is this like a practice you have to kind of get a little more knowledge on how to do?
Um, so is it this? I'm gonna wondering if this person is reading their own records, and because this never happened to me when I'm reading somebody's records. They always open for me, or there's not even a book. It's just information. So, but if you're reading your own records and there's a book in there that you can't seem to read, then maybe it's not time yet, or a lot of times. So I think your soul will absorb the message even if your waking self doesn't. Oh yeah, you try your own records. Um, you know what, Melissa? I saw that in one of your questions that we are thinking about talking about tonight. You asked, "What are one of the greatest misconceptions about the Akashic Records?" One of the greatest misconceptions, I think, is that you can't read your own. Yes, you can. You can read your own Akashic Records. It does take practice. My advice for anybody trying to read their own Akashic Records: you have to have a high vibration. Try not to go in with negative or sadness or loneliness or fear. That isn't going to be helpful for you reading your Akashic Records. You want to go in more fun, more playful, more excited, more happy, more like, oh, have fun with it, play with it. I think the records are so much fun. That's another misconception. They're actually fun. They're again, they're lighthearted. They do have a sense of humor. They're very kind, and they want to help. Your records want you to read them. So there's a lot about belief as well. Practice is great. I meditate a lot, so I got into my records the first time I tried, and it was funny. There was a note. As soon as I got into my records for the first time, there was a note that said, "Hello." It was actually in your Akashic Records that you would be coming into your Akashic Records, and you've actually opened them more times than you know that you have. So I've been opening my own records inadvertently just by seeking information in meditation. But try not to even be as uh, so much thinking that it's an actual book. I mean, I think that can be helpful, that you've got a book that you're trying to read, but sometimes the records, different people can read them in different ways.
Mhm.
So when I go into somebody's records, occasionally there's an actual book that I'm reading. Sometimes a scroll drops from the ceiling. One time I had an iPad. Um, I was reading, I went into a refrigerator the other day in somebody's records and pulled something out, and the ingredients on the item was her Akashic Records. I mean, and it tells me a lot about the person too. And I know I have a vivid imagination and all the things. And this person was a nutritional therapist, so it was interesting that her records were in a refrigerator. But they don't always have to be in a book, and maybe not try so hard to think it's in a book. Just be open to getting images, pictures, words. When I'm in reading somebody's records, I'll get words first. So, for example, when the woman asked me today, what do I need to focus on for more peace in my marriage? I focused on the question and asking her records, and I heard, speak your mind, or speak up for yourself. And I heard the words first. And as soon as I started to tell her those words, more information started coming. So if you're going into your own Akashic records and you see something or hear something, maybe say it out loud. And then the more you go with that, the more information starts to come. It's like you're unlocking a door. And so it starts to flow through. So if you're in your Akashic records, like, oh, it's a blue book, you might even just say it out loud. Blue book in that middle page. Live in the present moment, or whatever. Like it'll just start coming to you, the information, because your records don't want to keep you in the dark about something that can help you. But it's just a lot easier to read them with practice, make it fun, relax, stay positive, high vibration, same time, trying to get into them the same time every day for, certain. You might even set that tone, like, okay, look, every Wednesday and Sunday I'm going to attempt to get into my Akashic records at 9 a.m. You can set that tone. Yes. About angels and guides reading your records, gosh, if you ask them to, I suppose they could. I've never had to do that. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think that's a kind of a cool idea. You would have to give them permission. I feel like the records are really private and personal to you, and there are guardians and loved ones who watch over your records, and they know some of the things that are in there. But I'm actually hearing guides and angels saying right now, we don't want to know what's in your records. They're being funny. They're like just like we don't want to read your mind. Like there's a lot of stuff in there. They're like, but if you're clear with us about what you want, we can reframe it for you. They might not go into your records, but they might be able to answer your question.
So when you say be playful, da da da, all that, meditate, is basically telling them get out of your head.
Yes. Yes.
Do not approach it logically. Do not approach it like you're gonna think it through.
Thank you. Yes.
Correct.
Approach it logically. You have to get into your right brain when you are meditating and going into the records and doing all of that, because we tend to live here and like, what can be proven, and the logic and all reasoning and the chatter and the ego and all of that. And it's like, no, let's get into the right brain.
Yeah, there was a gargoyle standing next to hers, and I like the idea of a gargoyle librarian.
I love that, and that's, I believe you. When I go into people's records, I'll tell them there's a lion. Your records are in a mansion. I'm pulling up in a limo, and there's a lion on the front porch guarding your records, or there's a wolf guarding your records, or there's a beehive guarding your records, or a gargoyle. Like I will see that a lot when I go into people's Akashic records, and I love it. I think it's awesome. I read this one woman's records twice a month, and her tiger is always there, and I love it. And it walks me through, and it sits next to me while I'm reading them, and it's so cool. But yeah, I love that. And I do think when we're meditating and we get information that comes from our soul, hence, full circle back to the beginning, first conversation we had tonight. How do we reframe it? It's a soul reading. You're getting information from your soul, and your soul has a wealth of knowledge. Well, my teacher said, she goes, going into the Akashic records is like doing a Google search for your soul, with your soul. Like you're just logging onto your soul and you're plugging in the search parameters, and it's pulling up all the information. And so that's really cool.
I hope the Google search in my records gives me better information than I get in Google sometimes.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, that is not what I asked for, Google. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. But no, your soul will give you the best information. The soul information is incredible. And that's why it's not mean, because the soul isn't mean. Yeah. Very cool.
Is it common now? Because our friend here had gargoyles. You mentioned the tiger. Is it common for a lot of records to have other little like spirit type beings hanging around? And then is that because you had a life time maybe with one of those little beings that are hanging around your records?
Absolutely. The woman who had a wolf guarding her records once, I was like, wow, there's a wolf just sitting here staring at me, and it's beautiful. And we ended up going into a past life of hers where she was surviving in the wilderness in a very cold, snowy climate. And a wolf came around, and instead of hurting her, it brought her a rabbit. and helped her survive. And this wolf is now sort of a spirit guide for her and a companion in the spirit world, and a guardian of her Akashic records, just like it was a guardian for her in that life, because she was traveling from one place to another. And she needed, it was in her soul destiny that she got to that destination, that she didn't die on the way there, on the journey there. And so as she was starving and freezing by a fire, thinking she was about to be eaten by wolves, they brought her a rabbit. And so that's amazing. So now she's of course obsessed with wolves, got the tattoo, everything. But yeah, it is common, and on other beings as well. I've seen fairies in the Akashic records. I've seen certainly extraterrestrial beings, absolutely, and that's big energy. It's a huge vibration that comes in, and angelic beings as well, master teachers, and ascended masters. Kuan Yin has come through for somebody before in their records, and other deities as well. And I love to see that. And they don't always want to reveal themselves, but when it's pertinent to the conversation and the information that comes through, they're there. And I love connecting with them too. It always feels like an honor. There's many times where I'm so happy that I read with my eyes closed. It keeps me connected and focused. But I just know, like, if I were to open them, tears would come out because sometimes these readings are so beautiful that I can't help but feel the love that comes through from the beings that they have for the human.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Maria, did you have any other questions for Dana? Because I feel like I'm hogging all the question time.
I wrote all the questions.
Then I'm asking. I'm hogging with the asking.
Okay. As far as healing is concerned, is reading Akashic Record is one modality, or is it a very powerful? I mean, how would you reframe it, since you work a lot with Akashic Records?
Mhm.
Information I know alone is really powerful, but are there other things that you work into, just not just giving them the information? Do you bring in other energy modalities along with it?
Yeah, well, in an Akashic Records reading, I'll say what healing or clearing is available for the person right now, and then I'll be shown something. And even though it's happening spiritually, like they're obviously sitting either in front of their computer or in front of me, depending on if it's a virtual reading or in person. I'll say, okay, there's an angel on either side of you, and they're taking you to pink, this rose quartz crystal, and they're doing this thing with you. Or I'll say, okay, so I'll just be seeing something like, okay, so you're standing on this platform and there is white light coming up from your feet and it's cleansing this and this and that. There's things where people are asking about, how do I release this from, this from my memory, this from my cellular memory, so it doesn't affect me anymore. And I'll be like, okay, it looks like they're just pulling a tissue out of a box and throwing it away. Like they've released it from you. And now 9 times out of 10 in something like that, the person says, I felt a shift. And there is a physical shift that they feel. Somebody who has had even like arthritis, I'll say, okay, so that's connected because you keep putting your hands in everything. You keep putting your hands in other people's business. But it's like in the most loving way, right? It gets them, like the way that the Akashic Records, instead of like calling them out on that directly, would say, do you tend to get involved with your family's problems a lot and try to solve them yourself? Sometimes it comes back with a question like that, and then they'll go, you know what? They do tell me that I should mind my own business a lot, or that I'm meddling in their affairs, or that I'm, like I should maybe just back off and let them handle it. And so I'll be like, okay, so what if you really did that? So it's like, it's so gentle how they want it to come out. And again, letting them have their own epiphany about it too. I think in order for us to learn some of our shadow tendencies, or our karma, these patterns that we have that maybe, we're keep doing, sometimes just learning it gently can help us more than somebody, yelling it to us like, you're too nosy, or, it's just like the love that comes through helps them. It just ushers them in. But Cord cutting is a huge thing that happens a lot in the Akashic records. Even if that's not what the person came in for, was to get a cord cutting, I would read somebody go, "Oh my gosh, you really need to cut this cord between you and your ex-husband." And if you want, I said, if you want, we can do it today. And they're like, "Oh yeah, 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 let's do it today." And I'm like, "Okay, what is the cord cutting that's available?" And then they'll show me. They'll say, "Oh, I'll say, I'm seeing this huge 8 foot tall angel standing behind you and snipping. There's 3 cords at the back, one at the back of your third eye, one at the back of your heart, and one at the back of your solar plexus. And this is what the cord looks like, and this is how they're releasing it or removing it. It's different for everybody. And the person will actually say, like, I felt a shift. Or the woman with the arthritis, like, I'm minding my own business. I'm only helping when I'm asked, and my hands haven't hurt me the way that they have for the past 2 years, or whatever it is, you know? So it's really interesting to see the healing that comes through. And I can do Reiki on a person, but I wasn't. I was just
Mhm.
letting the records do it. And there's a lot of great books on the Akashic records about the healing that's available. I heal myself in the Akashic records all the time. I told two ladies this last time. I was like, I lay in bed and I do it. Like, I just think, hey, I have a sore throat. This cannot turn into something. What is it? And then I'll get the information like, it's actually because there's no more humidity and you're dry. Like, that's all it is. It's not lymph nodes. It's not you're coming down with something. It's like the weather has changed and this is dry. I'm like, okay, great. What healing is available for me? And they might even direct me to some propolis, or however you pronounce it, throat spray. Instead, like, we're not going to put some blue light in your throat right now, but we will send you to the store to buy this product, or turn on your humidifier.
Right.
I hope that
Well,
answers the question.
Dana did a cord cutting for me. Within a week, that relationship was terminated. And she said, by the way, this is Tiffany.
Oh, Tiffany. Oh, gosh, it's so good to hear from you. My girl, I miss you. Sending you a hug. Yeah, cord cuttings are amazing. We all need them. Sometimes we don't even realize, and we can cut cords between us and people that we love. And it doesn't mean you're out of my life and you're banished. It means I'm taking my power back. I'm no longer available for
mhm,
you to plug your energy
mhm,
into. I love my dad. I cut a cord between me and him because I didn't want his money issues anymore that I inherited. The we can't afford it, sort of, hoarding the money, like, not, like, afraid to spend it kind of a thing. And just grew up hearing that all the time, like, nope, you can't afford it kind of a thing. And then as an adult, like, that's not mine. I can't, I don't want it. I'm cutting the cord between me and your money issues. Um, Still in my dad's life, really great. You know what? Every time I see him, he gives me money. He gives me like $40, $50, $100. Like, Dad, what do I don't, you don't have to give me your money. But it's so interesting. Like, that's what happened after I cut the cord from our money issues. He gives me money all the time. So
You think maybe cutting that cord between you and him helped cut like a cord for him as
yes,
well, so
I
that,
do.
now he feels that he can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
that abundant that he can give it?
yeah. And that brings up
mhm,
another really amazing point. Um, if I don't have permission to read somebody's records, I can't always do the full thing. So, like, somebody will say, "Oh, I really need to cut this cord between me and my mom." I'm like, "Well, I can cut the cord between you and her, but I can't cut her cords to you because I don't have her permission to do it." But the knowing that I can do it one-sided is going to be helpful for you. She's still going to have her issues, but I think that with me and my dad, I think it did release him from some of that because I did other work around it as well. And I did a similar thing with me and my mom. Like, I don't want her body issues anymore or whatever. I don't want her, like, self sabotage. And I learned that I could do that, and it shifted so many things for me. Like, I tore up the
mhm,
contract between me and my mom because I kept, like, feeling like I was having her thoughts about things that
mhm,
weren't my thoughts because, again, the DNA and everything. And so I'm like, I'm tearing up that contract. I've learned enough. I've healed enough. I have, separated myself from you enough in that way. I want to have my own energy back, my own power back. And so cutting cords like that is so great because it can still say, I love you and I wish you the best, but I'm not available for that trauma
mhm,
of yours to siphon from
mhm,
me, or for your energy to plug into me, or to affect me. And then it's
mhm,
so much about sovereignty and just kind of, um, being open and available for only healthy, happy relationships now. And I think that what that did, like with me and my dad, it opened up a healthier relationship with money with us too, because it's like, I know I'm thinking about it because I know I'm going to see him on Sunday and I know he's going to give me money. But it's also getting older, and I think that he wants to now see it spent before he's gone, kind of a thing. But it's very sweet. But yeah, I remember when I was getting married, and I was like, I'm the daughter. My dad should be pitching in on this wedding. So I was like, Dad, can getting married? This is 23 years ago. What can you contribute to the wedding? Oh, how about $500? I just started crying because I was hoping he would offer $5,000. So, and I knew, and he has money, but he just doesn't spend it. So that's
Mhm.
just another way that we can cut cords. But it's like sometimes we're given the idea by the records.
Mm.
I get people who want an Akashic Records reading and don't even have a question, and those are fun. Those are fun
Mhm.
because we get to say, what does Jane Smith's Akashic Records need her to know right now in the highest good? And the information that comes through starts a conversation that just is so wonderful and so magnificent. And then that leads to things. And so I love those questions. You don't have to come to me in a crisis or anyone who reads the Akashic Records. I think that's another misconception, that you have to come in need, in a desperate search or crisis for something. You can come in and just say, why did I reincarnate in this life? What's my soul purpose? Or what
Mhm.
do my records want me to know that can enhance my life right now? One person asked me, I love this one. What is a mantra or an affirmation that I can say every morning? And the most beautiful words came through. And he said, I'm already saying something similar to that, which I had no idea. And it was like the records were giving him the mantra that he was already saying. And I
Mhm.
thought that was the coolest thing. And sometimes I'll mention that to people and they'll go, oh, I'm going to ask that the next time I'm in the records. That's cool. So if you ever don't know what to ask, I'm here to help. Uh, because somebody might be like that, they'll jumble their own words and be like, I don't even know what to ask. Well, let me help you because I'm a linguist and a wordsmith and a Gemini, and I have a way with translations. So you just let me do it.
Sometimes I came across clients when, because I do believe in cord cutting. I That is the first thing that I would go to, and sometimes they're a little bit confused because they said, well, does that include my loved ones too? Does that include my children? And I said, the love energy is there and we're going to keep it as pure love. But all the other stuff, all the disagreement, all the arguments, all the frustration, that is going to go away. So you can be clear
Yeah.
and the relationship can be
Yeah.
clear.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
clearing the way for a healthier, happier relationship.
Yeah.
It isn't saying I banish you from life, or it can. It can if the person is a narcissist and the empath is trying to get away and it's a dangerous situation. Like we can absolutely make sure that that cord never
Hmm.
reattaches. But
Hmm.
a lot of times, no, you can absolutely do it with people that you love for sure. And what I do find is that once you do cut the cord, even if it's just one sided, the other person feels the shift. And I was doing
Hmm.
this with a woman last week. We cut the cord between her and her ex husband, and and I go, and I just got done saying to her, he's probably going to feel a shift. He won't be able to explain it. He won't know, what it is. Um, consciously, but he'll feel like something's different between the two of you, and he'll just know that he can't treat you the same way. And
Hmm.
so right as I was saying that to her, she goes, "She's not going to believe this," and she showed me. She goes, "He's calling me right now. He never calls me. He only just texts." And I go, "And you're not going to answer it, are you?" And she goes, "No." And he didn't even leave a message. And I was like, that was him. It was a test. Him seeing he felt a shift. He wanted to see
Hmm.
if you were going to answer the phone. The fact that you didn't, he knew, like that sealed it for him. He knows he has to treat you
Hmm.
different. And I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
finding out how that went for her. But that was so weird. It was so weird, but also exciting because it was just like you can't make it up. And
No.
yeah, and that's how I think the records are so fun in that way, because it gets exciting to know that they are this energetic, beautiful, force. And it's the memory of all things, and it's the knowledge of all things, and it's so powerful and so loving and so healing. And that's why I'm so so grateful and honored to read the Akashic Records. And I have this book. I think it's sitting right here next to me. Such a good one. If anybody's interested, How to Read the Akashic Records by Linda Howe. He's no longer on this earth, but there's a lot of really good Akashic Records books out there, and this is just one that I really love. And I was reading it on the airplane, and there's a question in here that says, "Go into your Akashic Records and ask the Akashic Records why you are meant to read the Akashic Records. Why did the Akashic Records choose you to be a reader of the Akashic Records?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought to ask that question. What makes me so special that I get to read the Akashic Records in this life for people?" And the Akashic Records told me that it had to do with the way that I deliver the information in a sort of an entertaining, lighthearted way that helps people not be so serious about it. Because when we're not so serious about it, it's easier. And I think that's psychology behind it. It's like we can't get motivated towards a negative goal. And if something seems really difficult or unattainable, we can't get motivated to go and fix that or heal that. But if it feels lighthearted and fun and we get curious about it and interested
Mhm.
in it, and we call it an experiment, and we just see what happens, then it's just, I think that's closer to our true nature.
Mhm.
All humanness aside, all stressful, uh, terrible earthly things that tempt us to close our hearts aside, that we get to get a little closer to our true nature, and then that's where healing can be facilitated. And I think, Maria, you probably know that by doing Reiki, which reminds people how they can heal themselves, right? It just gets that energy body or their soul in charge again to like know how to facilitate its own healing. And that's, I think, what happens with the Akashic Records when they word it that way. Or but I am always so honored to be able to read for people, because I don't, I feel so grateful that the records said yes, they put it in my path. And I think I mentioned this last time. I first heard about the Akashic Records in 2008, and Spirit clearly said, "Not yet, Dana." And they waited all the way until 2022 to say, "Now, the Akashic Records." And it was like, okay, that was a long wait, but here we are. And maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe my vibration wasn't there, or maybe the people weren't as open to coming and getting it from the records. But more and more people are hearing about them now, and the time is so much more important in this world that we're in now to be able to go into our records and have access to them. They want us to have access to them, because it's only going to help more.
Mhm. Well,
Mhm.
there's been, I've noticed since, COVID, there was a huge uptick, at least for us in, Goddess Elite in our immediate area of people kind of exploring, the metaphysical, the holistic, the,
Yes.
everything else. And I'm like, well, people are forced to be home, either with their family or by themselves, depending on their relationships and their living situations. So now they have time to explore that, because work has been taken away. Like all of the excuses of why you can't are gone.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so many new tiptoes, and then just learning like this vast world. And there was a lot of people between like Akashic Records and people wanting to learn, mediumship, because they're like, I'm hearing voices. I might be crazy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe, but maybe not.
Right?
Right.
Because when we slow down, who are we left with? Me, myself, and I. And people but were so busy before the pandemic that they never had time to hear their own inner voice, or they wouldn't
Mhm.
make the time or
Mhm.
create the time, and now they have the time. And then, well, I guess I'll heal this. And you know how many divorces happened during the pandemic too, right? Because they're like, or people getting back together, or it's just like that. But I'm kind of a little bit grateful for the pandemic in that way, because it
Yeah.
did force so much healing. It
Mhm.
to us on a silver platter and said, "Take this opportunity while you have it." And the vibration of the world shifted throughout that. I mean, it was very scary at first. So I'm sure the vibration went down, it plummeted, but then as we started to figure our way out of it and see the light, then do the healing and come up out of it, right around 2022, after the first two scary years of it, it's just like, oh wow, we have risen. And that's interesting.
Mhm.
That's when the Akashic Records came after me. I couldn't deny it. They just came right after me, and was just laid out like a red carpet. And I was like, okay, I guess it's time. And my teacher had said, practice the Akashic Records for a long time before you ever offer it to anybody or reading anybody else's. And it was like, no, the next day I started reading people's records, and it was awesome. I don't always follow the rules. That's my Aquarius moon. I'm here to bend the rules a little bit and rebel a little bit, but I didn't follow that rule, and I started reading right out of the gate, and I started seeing awesome things happen, and I was like, you can't stop me. Sure, my guides would have if they didn't think I was ready, but when my teacher asked me to give her a reading in front of the class, and she said it was one of the best she'd ever had, then I was like, well, then I'm good to go. If the teacher says, but,
Mhm.
and then she also said, never blend, never blend an Akashic Records reading with a psychic reading. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And so what am I over here doing? I'm blending my readings. Aquarius moon. That's anybody,
Hmm.
any other Aquarius moons out there, come break rules with me for the greater good of the planet and the healing of all beings.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mix my modalities all the time.
yes.
I'm getting information. I'm doing pranic healing. I'm doing the shaman healing, and I just, yeah, my teacher did the same thing too. Don't mix it so you know which one really works.
Right.
They all work.
Yeah. They'll all work. Let's put it in a
Yeah,
bowl and stir it up.
there you go.
Like, what would be like the most important takeaway for, our listeners about Akashic Records?
Ugh, there's no stupid questions to ask. I think the greatest takeaway is like you can solve mysteries about yourself. We're hidden from ourselves so much. We want to know, like, why do I always get stuck at this point? Why do I have self doubt about this, but confidence about this? What it's just so many things that we can figure out about ourselves. After an Akashic Records reading, I find that people love themselves even more. Just like after I do an astrology reading too, it's like it validates for you. You're okay. Everything's okay. People talk to me a lot about their fears, and the love that comes through from the Akashic Records, I think, is so neat because I take away a lot just reading somebody else. Like the guidance the other day, this woman was talking about how afraid she is um, to sell her house and move to another state. And I'm like, well, you can never get what you want through fear. But that what didn't really come from me. It came from my records, and the records were saying you get the best life through love, not fear. So put the fears away, focus on the love. Are you moving because you love the opportunity? Are you moving because you love, but still not bypassing the emotion? Like, you honor that you're afraid, but
Mhm.
don't focus on that so much. Don't keep repeating it to yourself over and over again how afraid you are. Don't let it grip you in paralysis. And there was even a suggestion that came through that was like, why don't you meditate, and that you're sitting at a table and you invite fear to come and join you, and you have a conversation with it, and you get to know it a little better and look it in the eye and just have a chat and say, what are you preventing me from? And then work it out. So it was really interesting there. So try not to be afraid of too many things, because that's not going to get you to really the best place in life. And your records are there to help you. If you want to read your own records, they want to be read, but you just have to raise your vibration and make time for them, and relax, and look at it as fun, and just know that they're welcoming you, but they just you have to match up and align with that vibration, which isn't that hard. Nature, journaling, music, laughter, positive thoughts, being around, eating kind of good. Be around happy, healthy people. This is how we raise our vibration. You don't have to, take 100 yoga classes and go to the top of a mountain. You just, it's just little things day to day. Keep your spiritual hygiene clean, um,
Mhm.
and just, and learn meditation. There are so many different ways to meditate. People are like, I don't have time to meditate. Well, here's the thing. Meditation gives you time. It gives you time, because when you meditate, you are so much more calm and productive and clear and focused that you
Mhm.
probably approach your day 10 times better than you would have without, in a sort of a frazzled, anxious state. Meditation gives you time. So there's tons of different ways to meditate. You don't have to just quiet your thoughts. You can focus on an affirmation. You can gaze at a candle flame. You can count your mala. This is my favorite way to meditate, right? I always have them with me, my mala beads. There's 108 beads. You focus on one breath per bead, or an affirmation per bead, or a gratitude, and you make your way around. You're done when you finish and you get to that tassel, and it usually takes 12 minutes. Who's got 12 minutes to feel better, right? And then you can wear it after you're done to remind yourself all day long, like how balanced you are, focused you are, grateful you are. Meditation is very, very helpful. And take that away. You can access your Akashic records through meditation with prayer. Just ask, and you'll feel a shift, and you'll go in. And I've tried to teach people how to access their Akashic records, and they don't follow through. They don't consistently practice, or they don't clean up their vibration, and then they wonder why it's not working, or they do it with too much logic and too much force and too much stress and tension. I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong, instead of relax, play with it, have fun with it. It's kind of like it's like kind of like playing with a kitten. Like, let's play. But you can read your own records, but some people just prefer, no, tell me, I don't want to do the work. And that's okay too. That we all need a mentor or a guide, or, that's why people like me are here. But if you do want to read your own, you can. But if you just prefer somebody else to read yours, find a trusted person out there, and let them have at it. We always close the records when we're done. I never leave anybody's records open. Sometimes I forget to, and I leave mine open. I actually opened mine before this to help me answer questions. I was like, just in case I need help answering questions. I never need help answering questions. You guys hear me talk. But yeah, just take the Akashic records with you to bed at night, and they're recording everything. So even when before I start to read somebody's records and they tell me what's going on in their life, the records are recording that. And so even if they don't ask the question about it, the records may address something we talked about before we even entered the records, because they were there paying attention. And so that's always fascinating to me as well. I love it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept. I'm trying to think, which Egyptian deity is it that's always watching and like writing? Is it Thoth?
Oh, I love him. He is definitely connected so much to Mercury. And even the Greek god Mercury, or Hermes, the messenger. Yeah. And it's so fascinating you say that, because Thoth had been following me around for a little while there, about a year ago. He just kept popping up all around me, and I ended up having to look him up, like, who is this guy? And I found out that, yeah, he is connected to the Akashic records. And I was like, whoa. And I have chills just now, like, thinking about it or talking about it, because I kept getting, he was coming in meditations. He was coming in other signs. Somebody gives me a book. I'm seeing, like, I saw some oracle cards for him, and I'm hearing about him on some TV shows. Like, what is happening? Who is he? Why does he want me? He's working with me with the records. Now I like him, but it was weird at first. But yeah, it's probably him. He's always record keeping.
So I'm like, he popped up. Well, he says hello apparently again.
He's recording this conversation.
He's very fast in his little scribblies.
He sure is, in his hieroglyphs.
And it's legible. I'm even more impressed with that. But yeah, well, thanks for joining, Dana, and all of your knowledge.
Thank
and
you.
Helping us explain the Akashic records and how they can help us get to know ourselves better and get out of some of the traps we lay for ourselves.
Yes, and some of the traps that just come with our human journey, with our volunteering to be here, with our whatever mission we have chosen for ourselves, and then just helping to make us helping us have an easier time here, because we're needed in our best energy to keep going. And if the Akashic records can help with that, book a session, people.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be with me. It can be with any Akashic records reader. But I'm just saying, we need help. We all need help. Even I get my Akashic records read. I read my own, but I like getting them read by other people, because their perspectives and the way that it comes through others is so helpful and wonderful. I love my records read by other people, and it's usually people that I took the class with. the other students that were in my class that are continuing to read them. But it's really nice. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for your time and energy and for choosing me to have a conversation with.
No, I'm glad we were able to
Oh
get you a
yeah,
because you're
yes.
very busy lady.
Hmm.
I like that you're busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go be not busy.
Yes. And then relax, chill, maybe get in touch with your records. It's like, what do I need to know for tomorrow?
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Or for right now.
right. Yeah,
Should I eat the ice cream?
I almost was going to get a hold of you and be like, what's in my records right now that I am literally dodging something in the road every day this week?
Oh, wow.
Start, and I'm like, what is this? And what's
Slow
with
down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Like the one night, like I'm coming home from Mansfield, me and semis, right? And there was one other car. And we're just driving. And all of a sudden I just see the car, thankfully, like 5-6 lengths in front of me, sharp turn. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then you couldn't see this, so you were almost on it. There was a semi on its side, but the top was facing you. So all you saw was black.
Wow.
And because they dodged, and I'm like, oh, that 71 to 480, that sharp turn by the airport.
Yeah.
Terrible. Car in front of me was driving, and all of a sudden I see like all this dust and smoke. That truck had gone too fast, missed that sharp curve, ended up ball hawing through this.
Wow.
There was a couch in 71 yesterday, and I'm like, what in the fuck? What are you trying to do?
Slow down. That's all I was trying to tell you. Slow down. Be vigilant.
I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go home and not go anywhere.
Well, I had a tubby, the fattest, most tubby, and maybe it was pregnant. It was a skunk, and it was just waddling across the road. Like, it was just taking its time. I was like, you're cute. You're really cute. But it was like, beep, beep. Like, it was really moving slow.
Right.
I bet it was pregnant. I don't know. I don't know the gestation cycle of a skunk, but do they give birth at this time of year? I don't know. Why else was it so fat? Is it getting ready to hibernate? Maybe. What is eating my pumpkin? That's what I need to ask my records. I have a pumpkin inside. Every day there's new bites taken out of it. It's nocturnal because it happens after midnight, but before morning. So what is eating my pumpkin? That's what I'm going to ask my Akashic Records. I've got some guesses. I've got like five options of what it is. So I want to know who's eating my pumpkin.
Yep. And do you want to put out more pumpkins to keep feeding your new little friend?
They're inside until Halloween. I don't want to take the risk of them getting eaten. I'm going to carve them this weekend, and then I'll put them out. But I can't take the risk of them being eaten anymore.
Okay.
I'm leaving the one that's being eaten out there for them to continue with, but I don't want to give them any more of my produce.
until you've had your fun with them.
I have to have my fun with them first, and then they can eat them on November 1st.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, Dana. We'll try this wrap up again. No right?
One more time. All right. Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night. Good night.